Avengers: Age of Ultron is a 2015 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics superhero team The Avengers. Produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, it is the sequel to The Avengers, 2012, and the 11th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU. Written and directed by Joss Whedon, the film features an ensemble cast including Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Don Cheadle, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Kobe Smulders, Anthony Mackie, Haley Atwell, Idris Elba, Linda Cardellini, Stellan Skarsgård, James Spader, and Samuel L. Jackson. In the film, the Avengers fight Ultron, Spader, an artificial intelligence created by Tony Stark, Downey, and Bruce Banner, Ruffalo, who plans to bring about world peace by causing human extinction. A sequel was announced in May 2012 after the successful release of The Avengers, with Whedon set to return as writer and director in August. He updated Ultron's origin for the film to involve the MCU's Avengers team and introduced the characters Pietro, Taylor-Johnson, and Wanda Maximoff, Olsen, to whom Marvel shared the rights with 20th Century Fox. Casting began in June 2013 with Downey re-signing. Second unit filming began in February 2014 in South Africa, with principal photography taking place between March and August, primarily at Shepperton Studios in Surrey, England. Additional footage was filmed in Italy, South Korea, Bangladesh, the state of New York, and around England. With an estimated net production budget of $365 million, the film is one of the most expensive ever made. Avengers: Age of Ultron premiered in Hollywood, Los Angeles, on April 13, 2015, and was released in the United States on May 1, as part of Phase 2 of the MCU. The film received generally positive reviews from critics and grossed over $1.4 billion worldwide, becoming the fourth highest grossing film of 2015 and the fifth highest grossing film of all time during its run. Two sequels have been released: Avengers: Infinity War, 2018, and Avengers: Endgame, 2019. Plot: in the Eastern European country of Sokovia, the Avengers Tony Stark, Thor, Bruce Banner, Steve Rogers, Natasha Romanoff, and Clint Barton raid a Hydra facility commanded by Baron Wolfgang von Strucker, who has experimented on humans using the scepter previously wielded by Loki. They are attacked by two of Strucker's test subjects, twins who have been given superhuman abilities: Pietro, super speed, and Wanda Maximoff, telepathy and telekinesis. The Avengers apprehend Strucker and retrieve Loki's scepter. Stark and Banner discover an artificial intelligence, AI, within the scepter's gem and secretly use it to complete Stark's Ultron global defense program. The unexpectedly sentient Ultron, believing he must eradicate humanity to save Earth, eliminates Stark's AIJARVIS and attacks the Avengers at their headquarters. Escaping with the scepter, Ultron uses the resources in Strucker's Sokovia base to upgrade his rudimentary body and build an army of robot drones. He kills Strucker and recruits the Maximoffs, who hold Stark responsible for the deaths of their parents by his company's weapons. The trio go to the base of arms dealer Ulysses Clay in Johannesburg to get vibranium. The Avengers attack them there and are subdued by haunting visions created by Wanda. Banner turns into the Hulk and rampages through Johannesburg until Stark stops him with his anti-Hulk armor. A worldwide backlash over the Hulk's destruction, and the fears Wanda's hallucinations incited, send the team into hiding at Barton's farmhouse with his family. Thor departs to consult with Dr. Eric Selvig on the apocalyptic future he saw in his hallucination, while Nick Fury arrives and encourages the team to form a plan to stop Ultron. In Seoul, Ultron uses Loki's scepter to enslave the team's friend Helen Cho. They use her synthetic tissue technology, vibranium, and the scepter's gem to craft a new body. As Ultron uploads himself into it, Wanda reads his mind and discovers his plan for human extinction, the Maximoffs turn against Ultron. Rogers, Romanoff, and Barton fight Ultron and retrieve the synthetic body, but Ultron captures Romanoff. Stark and Banner upload Jarvis, who has been secretly active inside the internet to hide from Ultron, into the synthetic body. The Avengers fight among themselves over the decision to upload Jarvis until Thor returns and helps activate the body. He explains that the scepter's gem is part of his vision, related to the powerful 6 Infinity Stones, from which the new being gets the name Vision. He earns their trust by being worthy of lifting Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. Vision and the Maximoffs go with the Avengers to Sokovia, where Ultron has used the remaining vibranium to build a machine to lift a large part of the capital city into the sky, intending to crash it into the ground to cause global extinction. Banner rescues Romanoff, who awakens the Hulk for the battle. The Avengers fight Ultron's army while Fury arrives in a helicarrier with Maria Hill, James Rhodes, and SHIELD agents to evacuate civilians. Pietro dies when he shields Barton from gunfire, and a vengeful Wanda abandons her post to destroy Ultron's primary body. This allows one of his drones to activate the machine, causing the city to plummet. Stark and Thor overload the machine and shatter the landmass. The Hulk, unwilling to endanger Romanoff by being with her, departs in a Quinjet. Vision confronts and destroys Ultron's last remaining drone. After the Avengers establish a new base, Thor returns to Asgard to learn more about his vision. As Stark leaves and Barton retires, Rogers and Romanoff prepare to train new Avengers, Rhodes, Vision, Sam Wilson, and Wanda. In a mid-credits scene, Thanos dons a gauntlet B and vows to retrieve the Infinity Stones himself. Cast. The cast of Avengers, Age of Ultron at the 2014 San Diego Comic-Con. Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark/Iron Man. The benefactor of the Avengers 9-10-11, who is a self-described genius, billionaire, playboy, and philanthropist with electromechanical suits of armor of his own invention. 12 on how his character evolves after the events of Iron Man 3, 2013, Downey said, "I think he realizes that tweaking and making all the suits in the world, which is what he has been doing, still didn't work for that thing of his tour of duty that left him a little PTSD. So his focus is more on how can we make it so that there's no problem to begin with. That, you know, there's a bouncer at our planet's rope. That's the big idea." 13. Chris Hemsworth as Thor. An Avenger and the Crown Prince of Asgard, based on the Norse mythological deity of the same name. 14. Regarding Thor's place in the film, Hemsworth stated that as Thor has remained on Earth since Thor, The Dark World, 2013, and has begun to feel at home here, he considers Ultron's threat a personal attack. 15. Hemsworth stated that he had to work harder to bring new elements to the character to avoid repeating himself, saying, "It gave us room to kind of make him a little more grounded and human and have him in some civilian clothes and mixing it up at a party." 16. Hemsworth noted that Thor's motivations in this film were completely different, as it was the first MCU film where he did not play against Tom Hiddleston's character of Loki. 11. Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner/Hulk. An Avenger and genius scientist who, because of exposure to gamma radiation, transforms into a monster when enraged or agitated. 17. To prepare for the role, Ruffalo worked with motion capture performer Andy Serkis the Imaginarium. 18. He stated that his character had grown since the previous film and was a bit more complex. 19. Ruffalo explained that a confrontation is brewing between Banner and the Hulk, saying, "There's a very cool thing happening, Hulk is as afraid of Banner as Banner is afraid of Hulk. And they have got to come to peace somehow with each other." 20. While filming in London, Ruffalo said that Whedon still had not given him any of the Hulk's lines. 21. Whedon later explained that he writes the Hulk's dialogue spontaneously, saying, "What makes the Hulk so hard to write is that you're pretending he's a werewolf when he's a superhero. You want it vice versa, so the question is, how has he progressed? How can we bring changes on what the Hulk does? And that's not just in the screenplay, that's moment to moment. 22. Chris Evans as Steve Rogers / Captain America. The leader of the Avengers 9/11 and a World War II veteran who was enhanced to the peak of human physicality by an experimental serum and frozen in suspended animation before waking up in the modern world. 23-24 Evans stated that since the fall of SHIELD in Captain America, The Winter Soldier, 2014, Rogers has been left to depend on his Avenger teammates without the structure of military life and is now looking to understand where he belongs, not just as a soldier, as Captain America, but as Steve Rogers, as a person. 16. Evans maintained his physique from Captain America, The Winter Soldier by working out up to an hour a day. 25 Regarding Captain America's fighting style, Evans felt he did not want to take a step back from the skills shown in The Winter Soldier, making sure Rogers' fight style advanced, showing a consistent display of strength, and having Rogers utilizing his environment. 26. Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff / Black Widow. An Avenger who formerly worked for SHIELD as a highly trained spy. 27 Producer Kevin Feige stated that more of the character's backstory is explored in the film. 28 Johansson elaborated, in Avengers 2 we go back, we definitely learn more about Widow's backstory, and we get to find out how she became the person you see. All of these characters have deep, dark pasts, and I think that the past catches up to some of us a little bit. 29. Regarding where the film picks up Widow's story, Johansson felt it was a continuation of what was seen for her character in The Winter Soldier, with the fact that Widow never made an active choice. She's a product of other people's imposition. That's going to catch up with her. That's bound to have a huge effect. There's got to be a result of that realization. You'll see her actively making some choices in her life, for better or worse. 30. A mixture of close-ups, concealing costumes, stunt doubles, and visual effects were used to help hide Johansson's pregnancy during filming. 31. Jeremy Renner as Clint Barton / Hawkeye. An Avenger and Master Archer who previously worked as an agent for SHIELD. 32 Whedon said that Hawkeye interacts more with the other characters in the film, as opposed to the first film where the character had been possessed pretty early by a bad guy and had to walk around all scowly. 33. As the character did not appear in any other of Marvel's Phase 2 films, Whedon stated Age of Ultron sheds light onto what the character was doing since the end of the Avengers. 22 Renner described the character as kind of a loner and a team player only cause he sort of has to be. He's not really a company man. Captain America can be that guy. In Age of Ultron you'll understand why Hawkeye thinks the way he thinks. 26. Don Cheadle as James Rhodey Rhodes / War Machine, an officer in the US Air Force, later Avenger, and Tony Stark's close personal friend who operates the War Machine armor. 34-35. Aaron Taylor Johnson as Pietro Maximoff. The twin brother of Wanda and Avenger who can move at superhuman speed. 36 Taylor Johnson felt Pietro was defined by the fact that he and his sister were abandoned by their family, and they both had to grow up in Eastern Europe defending and looking out for themselves and each other, that they both looked to the other for guidance. Taylor Johnson also said that Quicksilver was very overprotective of Scarlet Witch and has real anger frustration, which results in him being easily bored because of a short attention span. 37 Feige stated exploring Quicksilver's relationship with his sister and his backstory growing up in Eastern Europe would help differentiate the character from Evan Peters' version in X-Men, Days of Future Past, 2014. 38 Taylor Johnson stated that the running style for Quicksilver went through multiple iterations. 11 Much of Taylor Johnson's scenes were filmed outdoors to give life to his running, as opposed to running indoors in front of a green screen. 39. Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff. The twin sister of Pietro and Avenger who can engage in hypnosis and telekinesis. 36-40 Olsen felt Wanda was overly stimulated rather than mentally insane because she has such a vast amount of knowledge that she's unable to learn how to control it. No one taught her how to control it properly. She can connect to this world and parallel worlds at the same time, and parallel times. 40. Describing her character's mind control powers, Olsen said that the character is able to do more than manipulating someone's mind, with Wanda Maximoff able to feel and see what they feel and see by projecting visions that they have never seen. 41. Olsen drew on her relationship with her older brother and her sisters to prepare for the role 40 as well as looking to the comics for inspiration. 11. Olsen revealed that Whedon was inspired by dancers as a way to visually represent how the character moves. As such, Olsen mostly trained with a dancer in lieu of traditional stunt training. 42. Olsen was signed for this film and another. 39. Paul Bettany as Jarvis and Vision. Bettany, who voiced Jarvis, Stark's AI companion in previous films, was cast again as the Vision 4344, an android and later Avenger created by Ultron. 45. Bettany stated that he was surprised when Whedon asked him if he wanted to be the Vision because once an actor has been cast as a particular character in the MCU, they usually are not cast as another. 46. On what intrigued him about the Vision, Bettany said, "The thing that appealed to me is that this sort of nascent creature being born, being both omnipotent and totally naive, the sort of danger of that and complex nature of a thing being born that is that powerful and that created in a second, and the choices he makes morally are really complex and interesting. They've really managed to maintain all of that." 46. Bettany also stated that the Vision feels paternal and protective to a number of people in the film, particularly Scarlet Witch, and has the ability to change his density. Bettany did wire work for the part. 46. Whedon stated he wanted to include the Vision in a second Avengers film before he signed onto the first film. 22. Bettany's makeup, which consisted of a mix of face paint and prosthetics, took 2 hours to apply, with makeup artists Jeremy Woodhead and Nick Williams citing the correct hue of the Vision's skin as the hardest thing to figure out. 47. The prosthetics were ultimately replaced in post-production with CGI elements. 48. Kobe Smulders as Maria Hill, a former high-ranking SHIELD agent who now works for Stark. 49. 50. Describing Hill's situation in the film, Smulders said that after the Winter Soldier, Hill does not really know who's a good guy and who's a bad guy, and she's trying to figure out that throughout this film. She added, "She's not getting any sleep. She's doing all the work. She doesn't have the kind of manpower that she had in S.H.I.E.L.D. 51. Instead working for Tony Stark at the Avengers headquarters trying to keep everything running as smoothly as possible, it's an entirely different vibe for her." 52. Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson/Falcon, a former pararescueman and later Avenger trained by the military in aerial combat using a specially designed wing pack and a friend of Steve Rogers. 53. Discussing the relationship between Wilson and Rogers, Mackie said that the two characters have a mutual soldier respect, which is explored in the film and in Captain America: Civil War, 2016. 54. Feige said that it was decided to reshoot the final scene of the film to incorporate the new Falcon suit designed for Ant-Man, 2015, which was released after Age of Ultron, as Falcon was originally shot in his original suit from the Winter Soldier. 55. Mackie stated he did not realize Wilson had become an Avenger until he watched the film at the premiere, as he was only given the script for the scenes he worked on. 56. Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter, a retired officer with the Strategic Scientific Reserve and co-founder of SHIELD, who is a former love interest of Steve Rogers. 57. Idris Elba as Heimdall, the all-seeing, all-hearing Asgardian sentry of the Bifrost Bridge, based on the mythological deity of the same name. 58. Linda Cardellini as Laura Barton, Hawkeye's wife. 59. Stellan Skarsgård as Eric Selvig, an astrophysicist and friend of Thor. 61. Skarsgård said he was originally not supposed to appear in the film, but received a call because they'd written a couple of scenes, and I went and did them, not knowing if the scenes would appear in the final cut of the film. 62. James Spader as Ultron. An artificial intelligence repurposed by Tony Stark and Bruce Banner for a pilot peace program that is overwhelmed with a god complex and now desires to pacify the Earth by eradicating humanity. 45 63 64 65 Director Joss Whedon stated that Spader was his first and only choice for the role, because of his hypnotic voice that can be eerily calm and compelling while also being very human and humorous. 66 Feige clarified that Spader's face and body were motion captured to create a whole performance. We did not hire James Spader to do a robot voice. 67. Extensive scans were taken of Spader's head and body in preparation for the role. 68 About the character, Whedon said, "He's always trying to destroy the Avengers, god damn it, he's gotta be in his bonnet. He's not a happy guy, which means he's an interesting guy. He's got pain. And the way that manifests is not going to be standard robot stuff." 69. Whedon added that Ultron is not a creature of logic, he's a robot who's genuinely disturbed. We're finding out what makes him menacing and at the same time endearing and funny and strange and unexpected, and everything a robot never is. 70. Whedon compared Ultron to Frankenstein's monster, saying, "It's our new Frankenstein myth. We create something in our own image and the thing turns on us. It has that pain of, well, why was I made? I want to kill daddy." 71 Spader called the character self-absorbed and added, "I think he sees the Avengers as being part of a problem, a more comprehensive problem in the world. He sees the world from a very strange, biblical point of view because he's brand new, he's very young, he's immature, and yet has knowledge of comprehensive, broad history and precedent, and he has created in a very short period of time a rather skewed worldview." 72. Spader elaborates, "He truly is an artificial intelligence with absolutely no censorship at all, no parameters really, he's got too much power, too much strength and speed and size, so he's a very dangerous child." 73. Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. The former director of SHIELD who originally recruited the Avengers and continues to be a mentor and leader for the team. 65-74 Jackson described the role as a cameo, saying the character didn't participate in the action scenes because there's not a lot I could do except shoot a gun. 75. Thomas Kretschmann and Henry Goodman reprised their roles as Baron Wolfgang von Strucker and Dr. List. 76-77 Hydra leaders who specialize in human experimentation, advanced robotics, and artificial intelligence from Captain America, the Winter Soldier. 65 Claudia Kim portrays Helen Cho, a world-renowned geneticist who helps the Avengers from her office in Seoul. 65-78 Andy Serkis portrays Ulysses Clay, a South African black market arms dealer, smuggler, and gangster who is a former acquaintance from Stark's weapons dealing days. 79-65 and Julie Delpy appears as Madam B, who mentored Black Widow into becoming an assassin. 81 Carrie Condon voices the artificial intelligence Friday, a replacement for J.A.R.V.I.S. 82 while Spader also voices Stark's Iron Legion droids. 83 Josh Brolin makes an uncredited appearance during the mid-credits scene as Thanos, reprising his role from Guardians of the Galaxy, 2014. 84 Avengers co-creator Stan Lee makes a cameo appearance in the film as a military veteran who attends the Avengers victory party. 85 Tom Hiddleston was to reprise his role of Loki, but his scenes did not make the theatrical cut of the film. 86. Production. Development. I have to make my movie assuming that people will only have seen the first one, or possibly not even seen the first one. I can't assume that everybody went to see Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and Iron Man 3 in between. I have to go from one movie to the next and be true to what's happened, but not be slavish to it. The model I'm always trying to build from, my guiding star, is The Godfather Part 2, where a ton has happened in between and it's a very different movie from The Godfather, but you don't need any information, it's there in the film. Joss Whedon, director of Avengers: Age of Ultron, on balancing the film's accessibility and continuity. 87. In October 2011, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige said the studio was beginning to look at their Phase 2 films, which would start with Iron Man 3 and would culminate in a second Avengers film. 88 In March 2012, Joss Whedon, director of the first film, stated that he would want a sequel to be more small, personal, and painful, that is not just a rehash of what seemed to work the first time, and with a theme full of originality to itself. 89 Despite the production of the film becoming increasingly wider in scope, Feige maintained that this was not their intention, always looking to see where the team wanted to take the characters, over how to make it bigger than the Avengers. 90 At the premiere of the Avengers, Feige said the studio had an option for Whedon to return as director. 91 In May 2012, after the successful release of the first film, the Walt Disney Company CEO Bob Iger announced a sequel was in development. 92 Most of the film's cast members were under contract to potentially appear in the sequel, however, Robert Downey Jr. was not, as his 4-picture deal with Marvel expired after Iron Man 3. 93. At the 2012 San Diego Comic-Con, Whedon said he was undecided about directing. 94 However, in August 2012, Iger announced that Whedon would return to write and direct the sequel and develop the Marvel television series, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for ABC. 95 Later in the month, Disney set a May 1, 2015, release date. 96 Whedon said his return for a sequel wasn't a tough decision, he thought it was not going to happen, but realized he desperately wanted to say more about these characters when he started considering it. 97 Whedon said that they intended for the film's production to not be as rushed as the first one. 98 In December 2012, Whedon stated that he had completed an outline for the film. 99 In March 2013, Whedon said that he looked to The Empire Strikes Back, 1980, and The Godfather Part 2, 1974, as inspirations. 100. Feige revealed that Captain Marvel, who starred in her own MCU film in 2019, appeared in an early draft of the screenplay, but was removed since the character had not yet been cast, saying, "It didn't feel like the time. We didn't want to introduce her fully formed flying in a costume before you knew who she was or how she came to be." 101. Whedon went so far as to shoot visual effects plates for Captain Marvel to fly into Avengers headquarters at the end of the film. Those shots were reused, however, for Scarlet Witch instead. 102 Feige also revealed that an early draft of the script had Hulk's Quinjet detected near Saturn at the end of the film, but it was finally decided to keep it Earth-based and leave his fate ambiguous in order to dispel rumors that a film based on the Planet Hulk comic storyline was in development, which Marvel Studios had no plans to adapt at the time. Marvel would later decide to adapt Planet Hulk for the film Thor, Ragnarok, 2017, in which the Hulk is retroactively revealed to have left Earth after the events of Age of Ultron. 103. Pre-production. By April 2013, filming was scheduled to begin in early 2014 at Shepperton Studios in England. 104 At the Hollywood, Los Angeles, premiere of Iron Man 3, Whedon said that he had completed a draft of the script, started the storyboard process, and met with actors. Whedon also mentioned that he wrote with Downey in mind and included a brother/sister act from the comic books. 105 Later confirming that he was referring to Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. 106 107 Whedon explained his rationale for including the characters in the film that their powers are very visually interesting, with problems which Whedon had on the first one. For strong powers, those powers are super speed, and spells, and telekinesis, respectively, which they can do that will help sort of keep it fresh. 108 Though cautioned he was not throwing in more characters for the sake of doing that. 70 Whedon stated that the twins allowed him to add more conflict, who dislike the United States and the Avengers, and the Avengers are like a world power, and not everybody's on board with the Avengers coming in and starting fights, even in the name of justice. 39 Because Marvel Studios shared the film rights to Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch with 20th Century Fox and had to avoid conflict with Fox's X-Men films, Whedon introduced two important characters into the Marvel Cinematic Universe completely on his terms for the first time, which allowed him to connect their origin stories to the universe that they created and avoid the concept of mutants. 39 Whedon relished at the storytelling opportunities by introducing a character with telepathic powers, explaining, "It meant we could spend a little time inside the Avengers' heads, either their past or their impressions of what's going on, or their fears, or all of the above." 39. By May, Downey had entered negotiations to extend his contract with Marvel Studios and reprise his role as Iron Man in the film. 109 A month later, Downey signed on to return for the then untitled Avengers sequel, as well as a third Avengers film. 12. Whedon promoting the film at the 2013 San Diego Comic-Con. At the 2013 San Diego Comic-Con, Whedon announced the film would be subtitled Age of Ultron. 110 Despite the subtitle, the film is not based on the 2013 comic book miniseries Age of Ultron. Feige explained that they simply liked the title Age of Ultron, but the plot was taken from decades of Avengers story arcs. 111 Whedon added that Ultron's origin would differ from his comics roots, and that Hank Pym would not be involved with Ultron's creation. Whedon disclosed that Edgar Wright had rights to the character first through his inclusion in Ant-Man, which was already in development. He also thought that Ultron needed to be conceived through the Avengers, and since they already had Tony Stark and Bruce Banner on the team, it would not make sense to bring in a third scientist. 112 Whedon also said the film would have a darker tone due to Ultron's involvement. 113 The title of the film came as a surprise to many fans who were expecting Thanos, the mastermind behind the events of the first film, to be the main villain in the sequel, with Whedon saying, "Thanos was never meant to be the next villain. He's always been the overlord of villainy and darkness." 114. Commenting on finding the right balance between technology and fantasy-based heroes in Avengers, Age of Ultron, Feige explained that Iron Man is a technology-based hero, and his films are always based on those. Thor is a fantasy-based hero introduced in the 2011 film of the same name, which also introduces Asgard, a fantastical realm in the more reality-based MCU, and finally, Ultron is clearly, comes out of technology, using tools that established in the franchise to construct Age of Ultron storyline. 115. Casting continued into August 2013, with the announcement that James Spader would play Ultron. 63 In November, Marvel confirmed that Elizabeth Olsen and Aaron Taylor Johnson would play the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, respectively. 36 Taylor Johnson had been in negotiations since as early as June. 116 117 118 While Olsen's potential involvement was first reported in August. 119 120 By the end of the year, Mark Ruffalo 17 Chris Evans 23 Samuel L. Jackson 74 Chris Hemsworth 14 Scarlett Johansson 27 Jeremy Renner 32 and Kobe Smulders 49 were confirmed to be returning to their roles from the first film, and Don Cheadle, who portrayed James Rhodes in the Iron Man films, had committed to a part in the film. 34 In the early months of 2014, Thomas Kretschmann was cast as Baron Wolfgang von Strucker. 76 Claudia Kim was cast in an unspecified role. 121 And Paul Bettany, who voiced Jarvis in previous MCU films, was cast as the Vision. 44 Whedon said juggling all the characters in the film was a nightmare. He explained, "They're very disparate characters. The joy of the Avengers is they really don't belong in the same room. It's not like the X-Men, who are all tortured by the same thing and have similar costumes. These guys are just all over the place. And so it's tough. Honestly, this is as tough as anything I've ever done." 122. On January 24, 2014, the Forte de Bard Association announced that filming would take place at Fort Bard in the Aosta Valley region of Italy in March 2014, as well as other locations in Aosta Valley including Aosta, Bard, Donnas, Pont Saint Martin, and Vers. 123 The next month, the Gauteng Film Commission announced that action sequences would be filmed in Johannesburg, South Africa, and other locations in Gauteng, beginning in mid-February. 124 A few weeks later Marvel announced that portions of the film would be shot in South Korea. Feige cited the nation's cutting-edge technology, beautiful landscapes and spectacular architecture as ideal for the film. 125 The nation's capital, Seoul, and Seoul's surrounding province, Gyeonggi, were selected as filming locations, with South Korea's Ministry of Culture, Sports, and Tourism reimbursing up to 30% of the studio's expenditures, as part of a state-funded incentive program. 121. Filming. Members of the Korea Film Commission and executives from Marvel Studios signing a Memorandum of Understanding in Seoul in March 2014 with actress Claudia Kim, Center, in attendance. Filming began on Tuesday, February 11, 2014, in Johannesburg, South Africa, having been postponed that Monday. 124 126 second unit crews shot action sequences without the main cast, to be used as background plates for scenes featuring the Hulk, in the central business district of Johannesburg for a period of 2 weeks. 127 128 By mid-March, principal photography had begun at Shepperton Studios near London and was scheduled to film there for at least 4 months. 129 130 under the working title After Party. 131 Filming at Shepperton as well as other locations in England allowed Whedon to get a number of different looks and textures and moods to give the film a different palette and fresh aesthetic from its predecessor. 70 Production designer Charles Wood built an enormous, new Avengers Tower set, one of the largest sets ever built for a Marvel film. The set featured multiple connected environments and levels. 132 On March 22, production moved to Fort Bard, Italy, and continued in the Aosta Valley region through March 28. The region doubled as the fictional Eastern European nation of Sokovia 39 with crews replacing local storefronts with Cyrillic script. 133 Filming in South Korea began on March 30 on the Mapo Bridge 134 and continued through April 14 at various locations in Seoul, such as Cheongdam Bridge, Digital Media City, Gangnam Boulevard, and road near Ki-won University of Art and Design in Uewang. 135 While in Seoul, the production was able to attach cameras to drones and race cars to get unique camera angles and footage. 132 An artificial island on the Han River known as the Sebat Dungdungsum served as the headquarters of an IT institute featured in the film. 136 Scenes involving Ultron's attack on parts of the city were shot in the Gangnam district. 135. In April, shooting began in Hollywood's in Hampshire, England. 137 And Hayley Atwell, who played Peggy Carter in previous MCU films, filmed scenes inside the Rivoli Ballroom in London while extras performed the Lindy Hop. 57 That June, scenes were shot at the University of East Anglia in Norwich and at Dover Castle in Kent, with Dover Castle used for interior shots of Strucker's Hydro base in Sokovia. 138 139 140 The next month, filming took place at a training facility for London's Metropolitan Police Service, which doubled as a city in Sokovia. 1639 Additional filming took place in Chittagong, Bangladesh, including the Chittagong Ship-Breaking Yard 141 142 and in the state of New York. 143 144 On August 6, Whedon announced on Twitter that he had completed principal photography on Avengers: Age of Ultron. 145 Disney spent $330.6 million on Avengers: Age of Ultron from February 2013 to November 2014, but $50.7 million of this was offset by payments from the UK tax authority. 146 A report on actual production costs for films from FilmL.A. Inc. indicated a gross budget of $444 million, with a net of $365 million for Avengers: Age of Ultron. 2. This makes the film one of the most expensive films ever made. 147. Cinematographer Ben Davis, who also worked with Marvel on Guardians of the Galaxy, shot the film with a main unit of 3 Arri Alexa cameras. Davis said, "Although the Alexa was Marvel's preferred camera, we weren't locked into that choice from the start. What wasn't negotiable was the fact that we were shooting digital. That's how Marvel shoots all of its films." Davis also used Blackmagic Design's pocket cinema cameras to meet the needs of the second unit kit, explaining, "The second unit typically needs a fleet of smaller cameras that are less expensive and are rugged enough to handle the various trials by fire, as it were, that we throw at them." 148. About the camera system, Whedon stated that this film was shot very differently from the first one, using many long lenses, and that he aimed to shoot the film almost like a documentary. 122. To create the scenes depicting how Quicksilver views the world, scenes were shot with an ultra-high-speed camera and later combined with shots of Taylor Johnson moving through the same scene at normal speed. 39. Post-production. The original shot, top, of the new Avengers training facility and the completed shot, bottom, with CG interiors added by Method Studios. 149. In June 2014, the IMAX Corporation announced that the IMAX release of the film would be converted to IMAX 3D. 150. Following the completion of principal photography, several more cast members were revealed, including Stellan Skarsgård 61, Anthony Mackie 53, Idris Elba, and Tom Hiddleston, reprising their roles from previous MCU films. 58. However, Hiddleston's scenes did not make the theatrical cut of the film, with Whedon saying what was shot didn't play and he did not want the film to feel overstuffed. 86. According to Hiddleston, in test screenings, audiences had overemphasized Loki's role, so they thought that because I was in it, I was controlling Ultron, and it was actually imbalancing people's expectations. 151. Whedon later explained that Elba and At will appear in the film because of exploring the psyches of the Avengers from Scarlet Witch's power. 39. In December 2014, Kim's role was revealed as Dr. Helen Cho. 78. 152 additional scenes were scheduled to be filmed in January 2015 at Pinewood Studios. 153. In February 2015, Marvel confirmed through promotional material that Serkis portrays Ulysses Klaue in the film. 79. 65. In early April 2015, Linda Cardellini and Julie Delpy were confirmed to be part of the film's cast. 59. 81. At the same time, Whedon stated that the film would not contain a post-credits scene, which had become customary for MCU films. Whedon tried to come up with a post-credit scene but felt that he could not top the shawarma scene in The Avengers, explaining, "It didn't seem to lend itself in the same way, and we wanted to be true to what felt right. The first rule of making a sequel is take the best moments and do something else. Don't do the Indiana Jones gun trick again differently. Just go somewhere else. Don't try to hit the same highs, because people will sense it." However, Feige clarified, there will be a tag shortly after the credits start. But there's not a post-credit scene. 59. In May 2015, Whedon revealed he was in conflict with Marvel executives and the film's editors about certain scenes in the film. The executives were not thrilled with the scenes at Hawkeye's farm or the dream sequences the Avengers experience because of Scarlet Witch. Also, Whedon had originally shot a much longer scene with Thor and Selvig in the cave, but the final version is shorter as test audiences did not respond well to the original cut. 154. In the scene, Thor would be possessed by a Norn, a goddess of destiny, while Selvig would quiz her about Thor's hallucination. 155. 156. 157. Additionally, Whedon reiterated he had wanted to include Captain Marvel and Spider-Man at the end, but deals for each character, signing of an actress and a deal with Sony Pictures Entertainment, respectively, were not completed in time for their inclusion. 154. The film contains 3,000 visual effects shots, 158 completed by 10 different visual effects studios, including Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, Treater, Double Negative, Animal Logic, Framestore, Lola VFX, Territory, Perception, Method Studios, Luma Pictures, and The Third Floor. 159 ILM opened a facility in London, citing Avengers: Age of Ultron as a catalyst for the expansion 160, and developed a new motion capture system for the film called Muse, which can better capture an actor's performance and combine different takes. 161 About the motion capture process, Ruffalo called it more of a collaboration since the technology is advancing, with the face capture and the motion capture can now being put together, allowing you to get a lot more latitude as a performer. You're no longer constricted by the attributes that you have as a person, your age, or weight, or size. None of that matters anymore. And so there's this whole exciting place to go that is kind of unknown. 21. Visual effects supervisor Christopher Townsend said that the visual effects team considered depicting the Hulk when manipulated by Wanda Maximoff as being gray-skinned with red eyes, but eventually decided against it, as they did not want to confuse audiences who might associate it with Joe Fixit, the Grey Hulk from the comics. 162. External videos. Video icon Marvel Studios Avengers: Age of Ultron end credits. Main on-end title sequence presents the film's main on-end title sequence, YouTube video from Perception's channel. Method Studios created the interior of the new Avengers training facility by digitally designing the training facility, extracting the characters from the original set and placing them into the new CG environment. Method also contributed to Iron Man's new Mark 45 suit and played a key role in creating Scarlet Witch's CG mind control effect. 149 Following the trend in recent years, most of the computer screens in Stark's lab, Dr. Cho's laboratory, the Quinjet and other locations in the film were not added in post-production but were actually working screens on set, adding to the realism of the film and saving some on the post-production budget. London-based Territory Studio delivered the screen visuals filled with unique imagery and animations that matched the character using them. 159 Perception worked on the main on-end and main titles for the film. Before settling on the marble monument depiction for the main on-end titles, Perception created 3 other versions, which were based on Ultron's hive mind ability from the film, renderings of power and pure energy inspired by classic comic panels, and classic moments for each character. The final design was inspired by war monuments such as the Iwo Jima Memorial. For the main titles, Marvel wanted the typeface to be a direct continuation of the first film. Perception made the typeface a marble texture to mimic the main on-end titles and changed the title's rotation, away from the camera instead of towards the camera in the Avengers, before Age of Ultron overtakes Avengers in a Vibranium texture. 163. Music. Main article, Avengers: Age of Ultron, soundtrack. Brian Tyler signed on to compose the film's score in March 2014. He replaced Alan Silvestri, who composed the score for the first film, and Tyler's hiring marked his third collaboration with Marvel following Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World in 2013. 164 Tyler said the score would pay homage to John Williams' music for Star Wars, 1977, Superman, 1978, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981, while referencing the scores for the Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America films in order to create a similar musical universe, saying, "That's the goal for sure. You have to build in nostalgia and do it upfront so you can relate to it." 165. Danny Elfman also contributed music to the score. 166 Reprising Silvestri's theme from the first film to create a new hybrid theme. 167 Hollywood Records released the album digitally on April 28, 2015, and in physical formats on May 19. 168. Marketing. Promotion. At the 2013 San Diego Comic-Con, Whedon introduced a teaser trailer for the film, which included a look at an Ultron helmet and a title treatment. 169 footage of the teaser, as well as a brief interview with Whedon, was made available as part of Iron Man 3's second screen companion app for its Blu-ray release on September 24, 2013. 171 on March 18, 2014, ABC aired a one-hour television special titled, Marvel Studios, Assembling a Universe, which included a sneak peek of Avengers, Age of Ultron. 172 The special debuted concept art for Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, as well as art of the Hulk fighting the Hulkbuster Iron Man suit. 132 Harley-Davidson partnered with Marvel to provide their first electric motorcycle, Project Livewire, for use by Black Widow in the film. 174 As with previous films, Audi provided several vehicles for Age of Ultron and commercials promoting these vehicles. 175 At the 2014 San Diego Comic-Con, the cast was introduced to promote the film, along with screening footage from the film. 176 Avengers, Age of Ultron received the second most social media mentions at the convention, following Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, 2016, but had a higher intent to see response. 177. External videos. Video icon Marvel's Avengers, Age of Ultron, teaser trailer, official, the use of the song I've Got No Strings from Pinocchio, 1940, was lauded by critics. 178 179 180. The first trailer was scheduled to premiere during the airing of an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on October 28, 2014. 181 However, on October 22, the trailer leaked online. 182 And within a few hours Marvel officially released the trailer on YouTube. 183 Entertainment Weekly and The Hollywood Reporter noted the effective use of the song I've Got No Strings from Pinocchio, 1940, in the trailer. 178 179 Scott Mendelson of Forbes felt the trailer was such a textbook dark sequel trailer that it borders on parody, but said, "It's a pretty spectacular piece of marketing, one that elevates itself both by the music choices and by James Spader's vocals as the title villain." 180 The trailer received 34.3 million global views in 24 hours, 26.2 million from Marvel's YouTube channel, which broke the previous record held by Iron Man 3 with 23.14 million views. In comparison, the original Avengers teaser received 20.4 million views in 24 hours after its debut. 184 In response, Marvel agreed to air footage from Age of Ultron during the episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that was originally scheduled to premiere the trailer. 185 At the end of October, Marvel Comics editor-in-chief Axel Alonso stated there were comic tie-in plans for the film. 186. In November 2014, ABC aired another one-hour television special titled Marvel 75 Years, From Pulp to Pop, which featured behind-the-scenes footage of Age of Ultron. 187 Also in November, an extended trailer debuted on Samsung Mobile's YouTube channel, featuring product placement for various Samsung devices. 188 In December 2014, additional behind-the-scenes footage was released as a special feature on the Guardians of the Galaxy Blu-ray, highlighting the various filming locations for the film. 144 189 That same month, ABC announced that an episode of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would tie into the events of the film. 190 The episodes The Frenemy of My Enemy and The Dirty Half Dozen feature Easter eggs, plot threads, and other connective tissue leading into the opening scene of Avengers, Age of Ultron, while Scars explores the aftermath of the film. 191. In January 2015, a featurette focusing on Ultron was shown at Samsung's Night with Marvel event at the 2015 Consumer Electronics Show, CES. 192 Also at CES, Samsung revealed a selection of hardware inspired by the Avengers films, as well as a simulation of Avengers Tower via its Gear VR virtual reality device. 194. A second trailer premiered on ESPN on January 12, 2015, during the broadcast of the 2015 College Football Playoff National Championship. 195. Mendelsohn enjoyed the trailer, but wished it did not reveal as many story elements as it did. However, he added, "The marketing thus far for the film has been far superior to much of what sold the Avengers 3 years ago, both in terms of the specific footage and the artistic choices being made. I'm sold, and I imagine most of the general moviegoers are already on board too." 196. On February 3, 2015, Marvel Stealth released a one-shot digital-only tie-in comic, Avengers: Age of Ultron Prelude, the Sceptered Isle. Written by Will Corona Pilgrim and illustrated by Wellington Alves, it reveals how Strucker came into possession of Loki's scepter and the origin of the Maximoff twins' abilities. 197. At the end of the month, the film's official poster was revealed. Graham McMillan of The Hollywood Reporter criticized it for its lack of originality, calling it pretty much the poster for the first Avengers movie, except with added flying robots in the background and the fact that it incorporated many of the same tropes the other MCU Phase 2 film posters did. These included the hero, ES, staring off camera, destruction in the background as well as something occurring in the sky, and poor Photoshop on the poster, highlighting the fact that each of the actors were obviously photographed separately and were later composited together into the poster. 198. Mendelsohn agreed with many of McMillan's observations, and called the poster hilariously photoshopped. 199. The final trailer was unlocked by fans on March 4, 2015, via the use of hashtags on Twitter, ahead of its broadcast debut during the series premiere of American Crime on March 5. 200. Mendelsohn felt this was a fine final trailer, teasing what we already know, hinting at the scale and a few new action beats without telling us much we don't already know, adding, "Here we have the fourth and final Avengers: Age of Ultron trailer, and we don't know all that much about what transpires in a moment-to-moment sense in the finished 150-minute feature. I have expressed my concern dating back to October that Marvel and Disney would release too many trailers and would by default give away too much plot and character information between October and May. But if this really is the final Avengers 2 trailer, then at least on the trailer front they have kept the film relatively unspoiled." 201. A week after the final trailer debuted, Marvel revealed that the trailer had smashed records with over 35 million views. 202. In April 2015, members of the cast presented Downey with the MTV Generation Award at the 2015 MTV Movie Awards, along with debuting an exclusive clip from the film. 203. On April 27, Downey and Renner along with executives from Marvel Entertainment rang the opening bell of the New York Stock Exchange in celebration of the film's theatrical release. 204. Disney spent a total of $26.9 million on television advertisements for the film. 205. From an estimated total marketing budget of $180 million. 206. Merchandise. In January 2015, Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment and Traveler's Tales announced a LEGO video game adaptation of the first film and Age of Ultron for release in late 2015 on a variety of video game consoles. 207. In March 2015, Disney said it planned to broaden its merchandising strategy with Avengers: Age of Ultron by expanding the target demographics to women and to fans of the individual superheroes that make up the Avengers. Paul Gitter, Senior Vice President of Marvel Licensing for Disney Consumer Products, said, "For the first film, we primarily focused on the Avengers property and the group shots. Now we're broadening the line and scope to create SKUs that focus on the team and the individual's characters, as well." Disney Consumer Products partnered with Hasbro, LEGO, Hot Wheels, and Funko for action figures, play sets, and other toys, and with Under Armour for apparel. Disney established new partnerships in the food and packaged goods categories, including with Sage Fruit, Conagra, Crunchpak, and Kobani. 208 Walt Disney India's consumer products partnered with 50 brands to promote the film in India, considered the highest ever for any film Hollywood or Bollywood released in India. The previous record held by RA1, 2011, had 25 partners. Some of the brands include Amazon India, toy retailer Hamleys India, online fashion store Myntra, Hero Cycles, Mountain Dew, Liberty Shoes, Tupperware, and Subway restaurants, among others. 209 A virtual pinball table based on the film was released in April 2015 by Zen Studios. 210. Release. Theatrical. Renner arriving at the world premiere of Avengers, Age of Ultron. Avengers, Age of Ultron had its world premiere at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood, Los Angeles, on April 13, 2015 211 and held its European premiere on April 21 at the VU West End in London. 213 The film was released in 11 territories on April 22, with its release jumping to 55% of its international market, 44 countries, by the end of its first weekend. 215 before releasing on May 1 in the United States, in 3D and IMAX 3D. 150 214 216 217 in the United States. The film opened in 4,276 theaters, including 2,761 3D theaters, 364 IMAX, 400 premium large format, and 143 D-box theaters. 218 Many independent theater owners in Germany, approximately 700 screens, boycotted the film in response to Disney raising its rental fee from 47.7% to 53% of ticket sales. The owners felt that the increased fees, coupled with the cost of digitization, and rising staff and marketing costs may force some of them out of business. 219. Avengers, Age of Ultron is part of Phase 2 of the MCU. 220. On March 4, 2015, ticket pre-sales for the film began. Variety noted, the 2-month gap between advance sales and the release is much wider than normal and reflects the heavy fan anticipation for the film. 221. Home media. Avengers, Age of Ultron was released on digital download by Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment on September 8, and on Blu-ray, Blu-ray 3D, and DVD on October 2. The digital and Blu-ray releases include behind-the-scenes featurettes, audio commentary, deleted scenes, and a blooper reel. 222 The film was also collected in a 13-disc box set, titled Marvel Cinematic Universe, Phase 2 Collection, which includes all of the Phase 2 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and was released on December 8. 223 In July 2015, Whedon stated that he did not intend on releasing a director's cut of Avengers, Age of Ultron because despite the film's complexity, he was satisfied with the theatrical version and did not think it needed to be tweaked. 224 Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment released the film on Ultra HD Blu-ray on August 14, 2018. 225. In September 2014, TNT acquired the U.S. cable broadcast rights, for broadcast 2 years after its theatrical release. 226. Reception. Box office. Avengers, Age of Ultron grossed $459 million in the United States and Canada, and $943.8 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $1.403 billion, for becoming the 5th highest grossing film at the time and the 4th highest grossing film of 2015. 227 228 Avengers, Age of Ultron's worldwide opening of $392.5 million was the 7th largest ever. 229 The film set a worldwide IMAX opening weekend record with $25.2 million, previously held by The Dark Knight Rises, 2012, and also broke the record for the fastest movie to make over $40 million in IMAX theaters, doing so in 12 days. 230. According to some analysts, the opening weekend box office gross was lower than expected because of the weekend's featured boxing match between Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao. 231. Deadline Hollywood calculated the film's net profit as $382.32 million, accounting for production budgets, marketing, talent participations, and other costs. Box office grosses and home media revenues placed it fourth on their list of 2015's most valuable blockbusters. 232. On May 15, 2015, Avengers: Age of Ultron became the 21st film in cinematic history, the third Marvel Studios film, and the eighth film distributed by Disney to cross the $1 billion threshold at the box office. 233. United States and Canada. Avengers: Age of Ultron earned $84.46 million on its opening day, marking the biggest opening day for a superhero film and the second biggest opening and second biggest single-day gross, behind Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 2, 2011, $91.7 million. The film's Friday gross included $27.6 million from Thursday night, which began at 7 p.m., and was the sixth highest ever for Thursday preview earnings and the highest among Marvel films. 234. 235. The film totaled $191.3 million in its opening weekend, the third highest gross behind Jurassic World, 2015, $208.8 million, and The Avengers, $207.4 million. 236. It also saw the second highest IMAX opening weekend total with $18 million, behind The Dark Knight Rises, a record $13.5 million from premium large format theaters and the highest share for the first weekend in May, accounting for 85% of the top 12 box office total earnings, previously held by Spider-Man 3, 2007. 234. 237 of those in attendance the first weekend, 59% were male, 41% were female and 59% were over the age of 25. 234. In its second weekend, the film fell 59%, earning $77.7 million, which was the second biggest second weekend gross behind The Avengers' $103 million. Both were surpassed a month later by Jurassic World's $106.6 million. 238. It holds the record for the second biggest loss between first and second weekends with $113.6 million, only behind Deathly Hallows, Part 2's $121 million loss between its first and second weekends in 2011. 239. It became the third highest grossing film of 2015. 240. Other territories. Avengers: Age of Ultron earned $200.2 million in its first weekend from 44 countries, opening in first in all, which was 44% above its predecessor's opening. Additionally, the film saw the largest non-China international IMAX opening with $10.4 million. The top earning countries were South Korea, $28.2 million, the United Kingdom, $27.3 million, and Russia, $16.2 million. 215. The film broke records in many countries, including opening day records in Mexico, $6.8 million, the Philippines, $1.6 million, and Indonesia, $900,000. 230. 234. 241 opening weekend records in Mexico, $25.5 million, Russia and the CIS, $16.2 million, Hong Kong, $6.4 million, and the Philippines, $7.7 million, and highest opening weekend for a superhero film in the United Kingdom, $27.3 million, Germany, $9.3 million, Sweden, Norway, and the Netherlands. 215. 230. 242. In the United Kingdom, where Age of Ultron was filmed, it earned $5.4 million on its opening day and $27.3 million during the weekend, setting an opening weekend record for a superhero film, Marvel's biggest opening in Britain, the biggest April opening, and the 8th biggest debut. 243. It also set the best single-day earning for a Disney and superhero film with its $9.4 million haul on Saturday. 243. 244. In South Korea, also where part of the film was shot, the film earned $4.9 million on its opening day and $28.20 through the weekend. 215. 243. It held the record for advance ticket sales rate, accounting for 96% of tickets reserved, breaking Transformers: Dark of the Moons, 2011, record of 94.6% in 2011, the widest release ever, across 1,826 screens, also breaking Dark of the Moon's 1,420 screens, and the fastest imported film to surpass 1 million admissions, doing so in 2 days. 245. It topped the box office for 3 consecutive weekends, 246, and became the biggest Disney/Marvel release as well as the second biggest Western film in the country. 247. The Chinese opening scored the biggest weekday opening day, as well as the biggest Disney/Marvel opening, with $33.90 million. 248. And the second biggest 6-day start with $156.3 million, behind Furious 7, 2015, of which $17.5 million came from IMAX theaters, the biggest ever. 247. Age of Ultron also opened at number 1 in Japan in early July 2015 with $6.5 million, the highest opening weekend for an MCU release. 249. As of March 10, 2019, it is the 9th highest grossing film, 250, and the 4th highest grossing film of 2015. 228. Its largest markets were China, $240.1 million, the United Kingdom, $75.5 million, and South Korea, $72.3 million. 251. Critical response. The review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes reported an approval rating of 75%, with an average score of 6.8/10, based on 372 reviews. The website's critical consensus reads, exuberant and eye-popping, Avengers: Age of Ultron serves as an overstuffed but mostly satisfying sequel, reuniting its predecessor's unwieldy cast with a few new additions and a worthy foe. 252. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 66 out of 100 based on 49 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. 253. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale. 234. And those at PostTrack gave the film a 90% overall positive score and a 79% recommend. 254. Todd McCarthy of The Hollywood Reporter said, Avengers: Age of Ultron succeeds in the top priority of creating a worthy opponent for its superheroes and giving the latter a few new things to do, but this time the action scenes don't always measure up. 255. Scott Foundas of Variety wrote, if this is what the apotheosis of branded, big studio entertainment has come to look like in 2015, we could be doing much worse. Unlike its title character, Age of Ultron most definitely has soul. 256. Writing for the Chicago Sun-Times and giving the film 3.5 out of 4 stars, Richard Roper said, someday, an Avengers film might collapse under the weight of its own awesomeness. I mean, how many times can they save the world? But this is not that day. 257. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone wrote, Age of Ultron is a whole summer of fireworks packed into one movie. It doesn't just go to 11, it starts there. Joss Whedon takes a few wrong turns, creating a jumble when the action gets too thick. But he recovers like a pro, devising a spectacle that's epic in every sense of the word. 258. Matt Zoller Sites of RogerEvert.com gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, stating that despite being bigger, louder, and more disjointed than its predecessor, it's also got more personality, specifically Whedon's, than any other film in the now 7-year-old franchise. 259. Helen O'Hara of Empire praised the interactions between the characters, the action set pieces and Whedon's ability as a director in her review, stating that the film redefines the scale we can expect from our superheroes. 260. Conversely, Kenneth Turan of the Los Angeles Times said, although this movie is effective moment to moment, very little of it lingers in the mind afterward. The ideal vehicle for our age of immediate sensation and instant gratification, it disappears without a trace almost as soon as it's consumed. 261. Scott Mendelson of Forbes said, Avengers, Age of Ultron plays like an obligation, a box to be checked off on a list before all parties move on to the things they really want to do. 262. Manala Dargis of the New York Times wrote, this Avengers doesn't always pop the way that the first one sometimes did, partly because its villain isn't as memorable, despite Mr. Spader's silky threat. 263. Camilla Long of the Sunday Times remarked, 2 hours of boredom and boobs add up to a sorry basis for the new Avengers. 264. Much like the release of Guardians of the Galaxy, the film received mixed reviews upon release in China, due to poor translations. The translations, which were said to be too literal, were thought to have been done by Google Translate. Robert John Downey Jr., born April 4, 1965, is an American actor. Known for his charismatic performances and versatility, he was the highest paid actor in Hollywood annually from 2013 to 2015. Over a 5-decade career, Downey has won numerous accolades for his work, including an Academy Award, a Daytime Emmy Award, 3 Golden Globe Awards, 2 BAFTA Awards, and 3 Screen Actors Guild Awards. At the age of 5, Downey made his acting debut in his father Robert Downey Sr.'s film Pound, 1970. He rose to prominence by working with the Brat Pack for the teen films Weird Science, 1985, and Less Than Zero, 1987. His portrayal of Charlie Chaplin in the biopic Chaplin, 1992, earned him the BAFTA Award for Best Actor and an Academy Award nomination. After serving time at the Corcoran Substance Abuse Treatment Facility on drug charges, Downey joined the television series Ally McBeal in 2000, earning a Golden Globe for his performance. In 2001, he was dismissed from the show following further drug-related arrests. He entered a court-ordered rehabilitation program and has remained sober since 2003. After Mel Gibson paid his insurance bond, Downey made his film comeback with The Singing Detective, 2003. He portrayed the titular character in Sherlock Holmes, 2009, and its 2011 sequel, the first of which earned him another Golden Globe. Downey gained global recognition for starring as Iron Man in 10 Marvel Cinematic Universe films, from Iron Man, 2008, to Avengers, Endgame, 2019. For his acclaimed portrayal of Lewis Strauss in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, 2023, he won an Academy Award, a Golden Globe, and a BAFTA Award for Best Supporting Actor. In 2024, he was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award for the miniseries The Sympathizer and made his Broadway debut in the title role of Ayad Actors McNeil. Downey's films as a leading actor have grossed over $14.3 billion worldwide, making him one of the highest-grossing film stars of all time. Named one of Time's 100 most influential people in 2008, he has also pursued music, releasing the jazz-pop album The Futurist, 2004, which charted on the US Billboard 200. Divorced from Deborah Falconer, he has been married to Susan Levin since 2005, with whom he co-founded the production company Team Downey. He has 3 children, 1 with Falconer and 2 with Levin. Early life and acting background. Robert John Downey Jr. was born in Manhattan, New York City, on April 4, 1965. 1. His father, Robert Downey Sr. Annie Elias, was a filmmaker too, while his mother, Elsie Ann, née Ford, was an actress who appeared in Downey Sr.'s films. 3. 4. His father was of 1/2 Lithuanian Jewish, 1/4 Hungarian Jewish, and 1/4 Irish, while his mother had Scottish, German, and Swiss ancestry. 5. Downey's sister, Allison, is 2 years older than him. 6. Due to his father's film projects, Downey moved frequently during his childhood, living in places such as Woodstock, New York, London, New Mexico, California, Connecticut, and Greenwich Village. 7. 8. From a young age, Downey was exposed to drugs, his father struggled with addiction, and his mother battled alcoholism. 7. 9. He has said that his father introduced him to marijuana at age 8-10, which he later expressed regret for. 11. Downey mentioned that using drugs with his father created an emotional connection between them, explaining that, "When my dad and I used drugs together, it was his way of showing love for me in the only manner he knew." 12-13. During his childhood, Downey appeared in small roles in his father's films. He made his acting debut at the age of 5, portraying a sick puppy in the absurdist comedy Pound, 1970, and at 7, he appeared in the surrealist western Greaser's Palace, 1972. 14. Aged 11 and 12, he attended Staghetto Manor, a summer acting camp in upstate New York. 15. Downey was described as a hyperactive child who tried to be cool, often teased by the older boys but popular with the girls. 15. His parents divorced in 1977 when he was 12, afterward, he lived with his mother in a 5th-floor apartment in New York 16-17 while his sister stayed with their father, who later took her to a boarding school. 17. He attended Lincoln Junior High School for 8th grade and then Santa Monica High School for 9th and 10th grades, but dropped out in 1982. 18. At age 17, he relocated to New York City to pursue acting full-time. 19. Working various jobs such as clearing tables at a Central Falls restaurant, working in a shoe store, and performing as living art at the nightclub area to support himself during auditions. 2021. During this period, he also appeared in local theater and off-Broadway productions. 22. Career. 1983 to 1995, early work and critical acclaim. Downey made his stage debut in 1983 with a 3-week run in Alms for the Middle Class at the Jiva Theater Center. 23. He then appeared in the short-lived off-Broadway musical American Passion at the Joyce Theater, produced by Norman Lear. 24. Downey's first credited film role was in Baby It's You, 1983, though most of his scenes were cut. 25. In his early film roles, he frequently portrayed misfit characters. 26. And his portrayals of punk-like figures in several 1980s coming-of-age films led to his occasional association with the Brat Pack. 1927. In the drama film Firstborn, 1984, he played a supporting role as the teenage friend of the protagonist. 26. Downey then traveled to Los Angeles to film James Spader's Tough Turf, 1985, in which he played Spader's sidekick and a punk drummer. 25. Later that year, his role as a bully in John Hughes's Weird Science, 1985, marked his breakthrough. 28. Downey starred as a more likable radical socialist in the Alan Metter comedy film Back to School, 1987. 26. A 25-year-old Downey dressed in a dark blazer and colorful shirt, being interviewed with a microphone. Downey at the premiere of Air America in 1990. In 1985, Downey joined the new, younger cast of Saturday Night Live, securing the audition with help from his Weird Science co-star and friend Anthony Michael Hall. 25. After a season of poor ratings and criticism of the cast's comedic ability, he and most of the new members were dismissed. 1929. Downey's first leading role came in The Pickup Artist, 1987, which faced criticism for being sexually irresponsible because of its portrayal of promiscuous sex during a period of heightened AIDS awareness. 31. He earned critical acclaim for his role as Julian Wells in the drama film Less Than Zero, 1987, the film adaptation of Bret Easton Ellis's 1985 novel. 32-33 for portraying a drug-addicted rich boy whose life rapidly spirals out of control. 34 his performance was widely praised. Roger Ebert called it so real, so subtle, and so observant that it's scary. 35 while Janet Maslin, writing for the New York Times, deemed it desperately moving. 34 Downey said that the role felt like the ghost of Christmas future for him, as his drug habit led him to become an exaggeration of the character in real life. 36. Shortly after completing Less Than Zero, he entered rehab for the first time, beginning a decade-long cycle of interventions and treatment stints that culminated in his 1996 arrest. 37-38 Downey starred alongside Kiefer Sutherland and Winona Ryder in the teen drama 1969-1988. 30 The film saw mixed reviews. 39 Though his performance garnered good reviews from writers at Variety and Deseret News. 40-41 Downey went on to star in the films Chances Are, 1989, with Sybil Shepherd and Ryan O'Neal, Air America, 1990, with Mel Gibson, and Soap Dish, 1991, with Sally Field, Kevin Kline, Kathy Moriarty, and Whoopi Goldberg. Each saw varying critical success. 42-43-44 To prepare for his portrayal of comic actor and filmmaker Charlie Chaplin in the biopic Chaplin, 1992, Downey trained extensively, learning to play the violin and tennis left-handed, and working with a coach to replicate Chaplin's accent and mannerisms. 45 Although the film was a box office bomb, 46 critics praised Downey's performance. 47 For which he earned the BAFTA Award for Best Actor, as well as Academy Award and Golden Globe Award nominations. 48. Oh come on, that's too much. You're going too far, Robert, you're ruining my movie. Forget the dumb dick idea. This isn't some slapstick bullshit. Oliver Stone recalled shouting at Downey during the filming of Natural Born Killers, 1994, 49. In 1993, Downey starred in Heart and Souls, playing a man possessed by multiple characters, a performance that Peter Travers praised as revealing his explosive talent for physical comedy. 50-51 In Only You, 1994, co-starring Marissa Tomei and Billy Zane, Downey played Peter Wright, a professional dancer who poses as the soulmate Tomei's character Faith. 30-52 Norman Jewison, the film's director, cast him because he reminded him of Tony Curtis, charming with great comedic timing. 53 In preparation for his role of reporter Wayne Gale in Natural Born Killers, 1994, Downey shadowed Australian television shock journalist Steve Dunleavy, which helped him develop an Australian accent. 54-55 The film proved successful at the box office, grossing $110 million on a $34 million budget. 56-57 Throughout 1995, he took on a string of diverse roles, including the period drama Restoration 58, the Shakespearean adaptation Richard III 59, and the family ensemble Home for the Holidays. 60. 1996 to 2001, addiction-related setbacks and Ally McBeal. In early 1996, concerned for Downey's well-being, Sean Penn and Dennis Quaid went to his residence, took his keys, and brought him to a rehab center in Tucson. However, Downey left the facility and checked himself out a few days later. 37 In June 1996, he was arrested for possession of heroin, cocaine, crack cocaine, and an unloaded .357 Magnum handgun while speeding down Sunset Boulevard. A month later, while on parole and under the influence of a controlled substance, he entered a neighbor's home through an unlocked front door and fell asleep in one of the beds. 61-62 The family declined to press trespassing charges. 38 The 911 call made by the neighbor was later circulated online and became known as the Goldilocks incident. 63 In November 1996, following a period in court-ordered rehab, Downey was sentenced to an additional 6 months of live-in rehabilitation, 3 years probation, and compulsory drug testing. 38 Downey starred in Two Girls and a Guy, 1997, portraying a duplicitous man who convinces each of two women that she is his only love. 50. Mugshot of a 34-year-old Downey smiling slightly, holding a placard with his identification details. Mugshot from his arrest in August 1999. Mugshot of Downey, wearing a green shirt, looking directly at the camera with a slight smile. Mugshot from his arrest in April 2001. After missing a court-ordered drug test in 1997, Downey spent 6 months in Los Angeles County Jail. 64 in January 1998, he was temporarily allowed out of jail to star in the U.S. Marshals. 65 upon his full release, he entered a court-mandated 120-day rehab program and then starred in Black and White, 1999, playing Terry Doniger, the gay husband of a documentary filmmaker. 38-66 that year, after maintaining sobriety during the filming of Wonder Boys, 2000, Downey relapsed. At the time, he was facing financial difficulties and had lost his house in Malibu. 37 later that year, after missing another court-ordered drug test, he was arrested again. Despite his lawyer, Robert Shapiro, assembling the same legal team that had successfully defended O.J. Simpson in his criminal trial, Downey was sentenced to a 3-year prison term at the California Substance Abuse Treatment Facility and State Prison in Corcoran. 67-68 at the time of his arrest, all of Downey's film projects had been completed and were nearing release. He had also been hired to voice the devil in the NBC animated series God, the Devil, and Bob, but was dismissed after failing to attend rehearsals. 69-70. After spending nearly a year in the Corcoran prison, Downey was unexpectedly released in 2000 on the condition of posting a $5,000 bail, when a judge ruled that his cumulative time in incarceration facilities from his initial 1996 arrests qualified him for early release. 11 a week after his release, he joined the cast of the television series Ally McBeal as a new love interest. 71 for his performance, he was nominated for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series and won the Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actor, Series, Miniseries, or Television Film. 72-73 in retrospect, Downey described his performance as overrated, deeming it his lowest point in terms of addictions. 36 before the end of his first season on Ally McBeal, Downey was arrested on Thanksgiving in 2000, after police responded to an anonymous 911 call and searched his room at Merv Griffin's Hotel and Givenchy Spa in Palm Springs, California. He was found under the influence of a controlled substance and in possession of cocaine and Valium. 74-75 Despite facing a potential prison sentence of up to 4 years and 8 months if convicted, Downey committed to appear in at least 8 additional episodes of Ally McBeal. 76. In April 2001, while on parole, Downey was found wandering barefoot in Culver City by a Los Angeles police officer. He was arrested on suspicion of being under the influence of drugs but was released a few hours later, even though tests confirmed the presence of cocaine in his system. 77-78 After the arrest, the producers of Ally McBeal ordered last-minute rewrites and reshoots before dismissing him from the series, despite his character having boosted the show's ratings. 79 In July 2001, Downey pleaded no contest to the Palm Springs charges, avoiding jail time. Instead, he was ordered into drug rehabilitation and sentenced to 3 years of probation under California Proposition 36, which had been enacted the previous year to direct nonviolent drug offenders toward treatment rather than prison. 1180 He spent a year in a court-mandated rehabilitation facility. By this time Downey was homeless, considered too great an insurance risk to be employable, and facing bankruptcy. 37. In a December 2000, Downey's stepmother, Rosemary, told author Alex Trzynlowski of People that Downey had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder a few years ago, adding that this was the reason he has a hard time staying sober. What hasn't been tried is medication and intensive psychotherapy. 81 Los Angeles psychiatrist Dr. Manajani Kokhtar said she had received a letter from Downey in 1999 during his incarceration at Corcoran II, asking for advice regarding his condition. She stated that no one had done a complete psychiatric evaluation on him. I asked him flat out if he thought he was bipolar, and he said, "Oh yeah. There are times I spend a lot of money and I'm hyperactive, and there are other times I'm down." 81. In a March 2007 Esquire article, Downey addressed this whole thing about the bipolar after receiving a phone call from the Bipolar Association asking him about his supposed diagnosis. When Downey denied ever having claimed to be bipolar, the caller cited the People article, to which he responded, "No. Dr. Malabushian said I was bipolar," and they go, "Well, it's been written, so we're going to quote it." 82. Downey firmly denied being depressed or manic and said that prior attempts to diagnose him with a psychiatric or mood disorder had been unreliable because the guy I was seeing didn't know I was smoking crack in his bathroom. You can't make a diagnosis until somebody's sober. 82. 2001 to 2008, recovery and comeback. I said, "You know what? I don't think I can continue doing this." And I reached out for help, and I ran with it. You can reach out for help in kind of a half-assed way and you'll get it and you won't take advantage of it. It's not that difficult to overcome these seemingly ghastly problems. What's hard is to decide to do it. Downey speaking to Oprah Winfrey in November 2004. 83. After 5 years of substance abuse, arrests, and relapse, Downey began working toward a full recovery in 2001. 84. 85. Downey's first acting job after rehabilitation came in August, when he appeared lip-syncing in the music video for Elton John's single I Want Love, directed by Sam Taylor Wood. 86. 2 years later, he returned to film with The Singing Detective, 2003, directed by his back-to-school co-star Keith Gordon, after Gibson paid his insurance bond, allowing him to be cast. 87. 88. He played Dan Dark, a paralyzed, suffering pulp novelist who hallucinates and drifts between reality and fantasy. 50. Although the film received mixed reviews, Downey regarded it as a personal achievement. 50. 89. For Gothica, 2003, producer Joel Silver withheld 40% of Downey's salary until production was completed as protection against potential issues related to his addiction. 90. Silver secured him the lead role in Shane Black's directorial debut, the comedy thriller Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, 2005. 91. Downey received positive reviews for his performance. Mike Russell, writing in The Oregonian, deemed it one of his most enjoyable performances. 92. Walla the Age writer deemed it a terrific comic performance. 93. Downey appeared in a range of leading and supporting roles, gaining particular recognition for his performances in several semi-independent films. In Good Night, and Good Luck, 2005, he portrayed a CBS journalist and editor secretly married to a co-worker, a relationship concealed due to the network's policy prohibiting employees from marrying one another. 94. His role as a drug addict in Richard Linklater's dystopian, rotoscope film A Scanner Darkly, 2006, was praised. 95. Traverse called his performance the film's flashiest and most ferociously entertaining. 96. And J. Hoberman regarded it as the performance to beat that year. 97. Downey's character in Steven Shainberg's fictional biographical drama Fur, 2006, was a composite representing the two most significant influences on Diane Arbus's professional life, Lizette Model and Marvin Israel. 98. Fur was poorly received by critics. 99. Who conversely lauded Downey's performance. 100. 101. In 2005, Downey returned to television, providing voice work for an episode of Family Guy titled The Fat Guy Strangler. 102. The producers created the character Patrick Pewterschmidt, Lois Griffin's long-lost, mentally disturbed brother, specifically for him. 103. That same year, Downey signed a deal with HarperCollins to publish a memoir, which he described as a candid account his life and career. In 2008, however, he returned his advance and cancelled the project without explanation. 104. In 2007, he appeared in David Fincher's mystery thriller Zodiac, based on true events, portraying San Francisco Chronicle journalist Paul Avery, who covered the Zodiac Killer case. 106 Downey's performance was critically acclaimed. 107 A Tuscaloosa news writer deemed it one of his best. 108 And Manala Dargis remarked that he was at the top of his performance game. 109. 2008 to 2019, Stardom with Iron Man. Downey smiling warmly, dressed in a plaid suit jacket with a white shirt and a black tie. Downey at an event for Iron Man in 2008. In 2006, Downey was cast as the titular character in the superhero film Iron Man. 110 111 Director Jon Favreau explained that while Downey was not the most obvious choice, he understood what makes the character tick. He found a lot of his own life experience in Tony Stark. 112. Favreau strongly advocated for Downey's casting, believing he could elevate the film's quality and generate widespread audience interest, much like Johnny Depp had done for the Pirates of the Caribbean series. 61 113 114 To prepare for the role, Downey gained more than 20 pounds, 9 kilograms, of muscle over 5 months to achieve the physicality required for the part. 115 Iron Man was released on May 2, 2008, in the US. 116 It became the 8th highest grossing film of 2008, earning more than $585 million worldwide against a production budget of $130 million. 61 117 118 In Iron Man, Downey portrayed Tony Stark, a wealthy industrialist who is kidnapped and forced to build a deadly missile, only to instead construct a suit of armor that transforms him into the superhero Iron Man. 119 Both the film and Downey's performance were acclaimed by critics. 120 Many of whom considered his portrayal the standout element of Iron Man and credited it with catapulting him to global stardom. 121 122 123 Ebert wrote that it's Robert Downey Jr. who powers the lift-off, separating this from most other superhero movies. 124 While, in a retrospective Variety article, Zach Sharf credited Downey's charisma with making Iron Man both a critical and commercial success. 125 By October 2008, Downey had signed on to reprise his role in 2 sequels to Iron Man and in The Avengers, 2012, which featured the superhero team that Stark joins, based on Marvel's comic book series of the same name. 126 He first reprised the role with a brief appearance as Stark in the film The Incredible Hulk, 2008, as part of Marvel Studios' initiative to depict the same Marvel universe on film by providing continuity among the films. 127 Downey starred alongside Ben Stiller, who also directed the film, and Jack Black in Tropic Thunder. 128 The 3 actors portray exaggerated Hollywood archetypes, with Downey playing Kirk Lazarus, a self-absorbed, multi-Oscar-winning Australian method actor starring in an overblown Vietnam War film titled Tropic Thunder. 129 130 To embody his character, African-American Platoon Sergeant Lincoln Osiris, Lazarus undergoes a controversial skin pigmentation procedure, requiring Downey to wear dark makeup and a wig. 131 132 133 Released in August 2008. 134 Tropic Thunder opened atop the American box office and retained the number 1 position for 3 consecutive weeks, eventually grossing $195 million worldwide on a budget of about $90 million. 135 136 For his portrayal of Lazarus, Downey was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. 137 He then portrayed Steve Lopez in the biopic The Soloist, 2009, a Los Angeles Times columnist who discovers a homeless man playing a violin with virtuoso skill. 138 Downey, standing behind a podium at a conference or event, wearing glasses and a gray checkered blazer over a patterned shirt with a pocket square. Downey speaking at the 2019 Disney Legends Awards. Downey played the titular detective in Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes, 2009. 139 The Times praised the lead performances, describing Downey as terrific and commending Ritchie for eliciting a career-best performance from Jude Law, though it noted that their double act struggled to sustain an overlong film. 140 Sherlock Holmes became the 8th highest-grossing film of 2009 and won Downey the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy. 142 Downey reprised his role as Stark in Iron Man 2, the first of 2 planned sequels to Iron Man. 143 Released in May 2010 in the US. 144 The film grossed over $623 million worldwide, ranking as the 7th highest grossing film of the year. 126 Set 6 months after Iron Man. 145 The film follows Stark as he rejects government demands to share his technology, while facing the vengeful scientist Ivan Vanko. 146 147 Downey's other film role of 2010 was in Due Date, which was filmed across various locations in the US, including Georgia, New Mexico, Arizona, and Los Angeles. 148 In it, he played an architect trying to get from Atlanta to Los Angeles in time for his wife's scheduled cesarean section. 149 The film was a box office success, earning over $211 million on a budget of $65 million. 151 Downey reprised his role as Sherlock Holmes in Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, 2011, the sequel to the 2009 film. 152 In A Game of Shadows, he investigates a conspiracy led by his nemesis, Professor Moriarty, and works to prevent an impending world war. 154 Todd McCarthy of The Hollywood Reporter lauded the film's more mannered shenanigans, whose action-oriented antics play straight to modern audiences' tastes. 155 Downey reprised the role of Stark in The Avengers, 2012. In the film, the Avengers assemble to stop Loki from conquering Earth using the Tesseract to open a portal for an alien invasion. 156 The film was both a critical and commercial success, grossing over $1.52 billion, it became the 3rd highest grossing film of all time. 157 158 159 In Iron Man 3, 2013, Stark faces threats from a terrorist known as the Mandarin while dealing with the aftermath of previous events and developing new technology to confront his enemies. 160 Iron Man 3 grossed $1.215 billion, making it 5th highest grossing film of all time upon release. 161 162 He played the role again in the MCU films Avengers, Age of Ultron, 2015, 163 Captain America, Civil War, 2016, 164 Spider-Man, Homecoming, 2017, 165 Avengers, Infinity War, 2018, 166 and Avengers, Endgame, 2019. 165 3 of his scenes from The Avengers and Avengers, Endgame were used as archive footage in the first episode of the Disney Plus series Loki. 167. 2020, present, Oppenheimer and expansion. In 2020, Downey starred in Stephen Gaghan's Dolittle, portraying the titular 19th-century Welsh veterinarian who can communicate with animals. 168 169 The film, the second produced by Team Downey, was a box office disappointment and received largely negative reviews, with critics citing its excessive length and lackluster execution. 170 In 2023, Downey portrayed the antagonistic bureaucrat Lewis Strauss in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. 171 172 He accepted a pay cut for the role, earning $4 million instead of his usual $10 to $20 million upfront salary. 173 Downey later called Oppenheimer the best film he had appeared in. 174. Both the biopic and his performance received widespread critical acclaim. 175. 176. 177. For his role, he won the Golden Globe. 178. BAFTA. 179. Screen Actors Guild. 180. Critics' Choice. 181. And Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. 182. That same year, Downey hosted the television series Downey's Dream Cars, in which he and his team converted several of his vehicles from gas to electric. 183. Downey next starred in a 2024 television adaptation of Viet Thanh Nguyen's historical satire novel The Sympathizer on HBO, portraying 5 supporting antagonistic roles representing the American establishment. 184. His multi-role performance earned him an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Limited or Anthology Series or Movie. 185. Downey made his Broadway debut in McNeil, from playwright Ayad Akhtar, playing Jacob McNeil, a gifted novelist with a difficult family life and a potentially problematic interest in artificial intelligence. Previews began on September 5, 2024, and opened on September 30 at Lincoln Center's Vivian Beaumont Theater, playing a strictly limited engagement through November 24. 186. In July 2024 at San Diego Comic-Con, it was announced that Downey would return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Victor Von Doom/Dr. Doom in the upcoming films Avengers: Doomsday, 2026, and Avengers: Secret Wars, 2027. 187. Other ventures. Music. Downey has sung on several soundtracks for his films, including Chaplin, Too Much Sun, Two Girls and a Guy, Friends and Lovers, The Singing Detective, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. In 2001, he appeared in the music video for Elton John's song I Want Love. He released a CD in 2004 called The Futurist, and while promoting his film Tropic Thunder, he and his co-stars Ben Stiller and Jack Black were backup singers for the Pips to Gladys Knight singing Midnight Train to Georgia for the Season 7 finale of American Idol. 188. Downey's most commercially successful recording venture to date, combining sales and radio airplay, has been his remake of the 1973 Joni Mitchell Christmas song River, which was included on the Ally McBeal tie-in album Ally McBeal, A Very Ally Christmas, released in 2000. Downey's character Larry Paul performs the song in the Ally McBeal episode 'Tis the Season. 189. Downey has collaborated with English musician Sting multiple times. In addition to their duet of The Police's Every Breath You Take in a 2001 episode of Ally McBeal, they also performed Driven to Tears together live at a concert celebrating the artist's 60th birthday in October 2011. 190. Both appear on Jonathan Elias's Prayer Cycle 2, Path to Zero, a benefit album for the anti-nuclear organization Global Zero which released on May 10, 2011. 191. Business. On June 14, 2010, Downey and his wife Susan opened their own production company called Team Downey. Their first project was The Judge. 192. In 2024, Downey launched a coffee company named Happy with Craig Dubitsky. 193. Personal life. Relationships and marriages. Downey started dating actress Sarah Jessica Parker in 1984 after meeting her on the set of Firstborn. They were both 18 and moved in together after 8 weeks of dating. 194. The couple separated 8 years later, in 1991, due to his drug addiction. 195. Downey married actress and singer Deborah Falconer on May 29, 1992, after a 42-day courtship. 196. They had only known each other for 6 weeks before marrying. 197. Their son was born in September 1993. 198. The strain on their marriage from Downey's repeated trips to rehab and jail finally reached a breaking point. In 1996, Falconer left Downey and filed for divorce in early 2001, citing irreconcilable differences as the reason. 199 Downey and Falconer finalized their divorce in 2004, with Falconer gaining custody of their son. 200. Downey with wife Susan Downey at the 2010 Academy Awards. In 2003, Downey met producer Susan Levin, an executive vice president of production at Joel Silver's film company, Silver Pictures, on the set of Gothika. 201 Though Levin twice turned down his romantic advances, she and Downey did quietly strike up a romance during production. 202 Despite Levin's worries that the romance would not last after the completion of shooting given that he's an actor, I have a real job. 202 The couple's relationship continued after production wrapped on Gothika, and Downey proposed to Levin on the night before her 31st birthday. 202 In August 2005, the couple were married in a Jewish ceremony at Amagansett, New York. 203 204 A tattoo on one of his biceps reads Susie Q in tribute to her. 205 The Downeys' first child, a son, was born in February 2012. 206 And their second, a daughter, was born in November 2014. 207 208 209 Downey has been a close friend of Mel Gibson since they starred in Air America. Downey defended Gibson during the controversy surrounding The Passion of the Christ, 2004, and said nobody's perfect in reference to Gibson's 2006 DUI. 210 Gibson said of Downey, he was one of the first people to call and offer the hand of friendship. He just said, hey, welcome to the club. Let's go see what we can do to work on ourselves. 211 In October 2011, Downey was honored at the 25th American Cinematheque Awards. Downey chose Gibson to present him with his award for his life's work and used his airtime to say a few kind words about Gibson and explain why he chose him to present the award. 212. Sobriety. Downey says he has been drug-free since July